First News with Keeler in the morning on WIBX and WIBX950.com.
The FDA has granted Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine full approval. I'm sure you've seen this. On the line right now is Dr. Jason West, a physician who can kind of walk us through this. Doc, good morning. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me. And just like everybody else, everybody's saying, well, what does it mean?
What does it mean? What does it mean? So we have full approval. And the other part I love your answer on is for all those people that said, I'm not getting the vaccine because it's not FDA approved, it's now approved. Do you think they're going to change their mind?
Well, that's a really good question. The answer is a big fat maybe.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
And I'm not trying to avoid your question. It's just so fascinating, the scenario that we've created. And again, when this thing started, about 20% of my patients were in a bunker somewhere, chewing off their fingernails, thinking the world was going to end.
Yeah.
And 20% of my people were on the other end of the spectrum saying, I don't believe any of this. I'm just going to live my life the way that I have before. And then 60% in the middle were like, just tell us the truth. Just tell us what we're supposed to do. Just tell us how we can be responsible. And what's kind of lost in this FDA approval is when you read everything, it says that a medical treatment, this vaccine, may decrease symptoms and it may decrease, the need for hospitalizations. And why I think that's important is because I had a patient last night coming in and saying, "Look, I'm bulletproof. I'm invincible. I got the vaccine." And what I wish we'd talk a little bit more about is the therapeutics. And what this really means that you still have to be smart.
Yeah.
You still need to wash your hands. You still need to eat healthy and alive foods. You still need to, go to bed on time and get up on time. And so many things that Mom and Grandma taught us about health and is really still applicable. And then going back to your question of is people that were like, I'm not going to get this, is the approval going to make them get it?
Yeah.
And the answer is we've created such a fantastic scenario of distrust.
Yeah. And
I say fantastic in a not complimentary way. You don't need a mask. Now you need a mask.
Right.
Now you need a double mask. If you get vaccinated, you're fine. Oh, if you get vaccinated, you have to wear a mask. I mean, there's just this perfect storm of people, and especially in my area, which is a rural area, there's just a lot of distrust for big government.
Yeah. Well, it's. I think that you probably that's probably a very complex problem. Well, it is. I think so. Why don't we trust government? I think there's a lot there. There's a lot of things feeding into it. It's probably for another day. But I kind of wonder how have we? I equate, like I saw a woman recently saying, "I want my daughter's teacher to see her face. I'm against masks." And I kind of equate that to the woman that was in the news, I don't know, probably about 8 months ago. And she was mad because the school said that her daughter's dress was too short and her blouse was way too low. And okay, so you're arguing that you want the boys to see as far up your daughter's legs as possible and as much cleavage as possible?
I didn't understand that one.
Doesn't sound very motherly to me.
No.
And the same part of this is on the masks. Is if the masks, it's not like the masks are going to hurt. And maybe they do help. And isn't that enough of a reason to say I want my kid protected?
Well, man, you're asking super good questions with really hard answers because if you go to the internet, which of course never lies,
right?
I mean,
masks are going to kill you. It's going to over-oxygenate you.
Yeah, any argument, it doesn't matter what it is. If you want to find stuff to the far left, and if you want to find stuff to the far right, you can find it. You can say, masks make no impact. Masks are saving lives. Masks are giving mental illness to children.
Right,
masks are decreasing the infection rates of the COVID and the Delta and possibly the Lambda or the Beta or the Omega or whatever variant is going to come, because the Delta variant is not the end. Like, one thing's for certain, viruses mutate. It's a law of biology.
Yeah.
So when we think that, oh my gosh, like it was earth-shattering news that there's a variant, like that should be no surprise to anybody.
Right.
we can take the same data that says there's all of these massive increases in cases and stuff like that, but we can also say, there's hundreds of millions of people that have been exposed to the virus and either have no symptoms or mild symptoms, and the difference between the people that are in the hospital and dying and the people that have no symptoms at all is it's the immune system. It's this individual. Sometimes people win the genetic lottery, and they really are bulletproof. They can do anything. It's the George Burns syndrome. The key to health is 2 cigars and 2 martinis every day.
Right.
He lives to 103 years old, and then you read about the secretary that's 24 years old, and her boss smokes, and she gets secondhand lung cancer and dies. Yeah. I mean, sometimes you just get this.
It blows, by the way. Doc, that just blows.
Yeah,
it's so
awful.
Unfair. But there's a reality. And I mean, we all know people.
And what I wish what they were talking about was, getting out and moving is good for your lymphatic system. Yeah. Drinking more water, reducing blood sugars. Like, this is the number one risk factor.
Right.
Is people's blood sugar levels. And what is the standard American diet, which is, if we abbreviate it, what is the SAD diet? It's high carbs and sugar and food diet. And we're like, wait a minute. We think that the government is here to save us by giving this magic treatment, which, great. But we still have to do the other laws of health, and we just are missing that. And that's when you're visiting with people every day, and they've got this misconception that this is the end-all, be-all. And if you look at what the FDA and the CDC is saying, that's not what they're saying.
It is awesome,
though. It may help.
It is awesome to have gotten the vaccine, and you do feel more protected. But you're right. I mean, I got to tell you, I've gone back to wearing a mask inside stores. I mean, we're getting in nearby Onondaga County, where neighboring Syracuse is. They're getting 100 new cases a day. 40% of those new cases are vaccinated people. I mean, I just don't want it again. I've already had it. I don't want it again.
Well, and what I would say to that is, okay, then let's make sure that everybody understands it's like just an individual responsibility thing. Yeah. Where it's not a mandate that the school board or your city or the government, like if we were to really mandate things, we'd be like, okay, everybody should only have a set amount of sugar every day.
Right.
Everybody should only have a set amount of bread every day. Everybody should get 8 hours of sleep every day. Like some of those things you just can't mandate or regulate. And so now it comes back to the person of saying, look, if you feel that the mask is really important for your individual health, you should totally wear it.
Right.
And you should really, really make sure that you get more vitamin D levels, because there's no downside to that. And there's some really good data that's saying that your vitamin D levels are higher, that your likelihood of getting an upper respiratory infection, aka COVID-19, is going to go really down. So, increase your vitamin D levels. Be smart. Wash your hands.
Can I ask you, and I don't know how much time we have, but can I ask, all three of us have had COVID. All three of us have had the vaccine. Are we better off because we had COVID?
Well, in my clinical experience, I think you are. I think that the body's respondent immunity, what they call, innate immunity, I think it's stronger than an outside developed immunity. That's just what I've seen working with people every day. I mean, there's 2 other providers in our office. We see 80-plus people every day. And that's kind of what we feel is, man, if your immune system has responded to this, I just think you have an advantage versus not getting it and then being introduced to a vaccine pathway.
And what do you think about the third shot? So 2 years ago, I had cancer, beat it, and my wife has an autoimmune disorder. The third shot, is that important?
Well, it's one of those things that you're scratching your head just a little bit. And again, I'm not anti-medicine on anything. I'm just looking at it going, wow, I thought this was really going to help. And now that I'm looking at the literature, and they're saying where you should have a booster shot 8 months after the initial shot. Yeah. And then there was some discussions in some of the boards yesterday that's saying, well, we're probably going to have a vaccine for every variant. Well, if you look at all the viruses mutating, that's a possibility of a lot of vaccines variants. And
a lot of FDA approvals.
And a lot of cha-ching, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
There is a money trail, and there is an angle that there's some companies making a lot of money right now on the different things. And so when I get asked this, which you're not the only one that asks, my response is we're missing a little bit of data.
Yeah.
Like we just don't know. And so that leads us back to, I know it'll be really good for you, is to get healthy.
Be healthy, and be smart, wash your hands, do the right things.
Simple.
Right. You move more. The healthier alive your food is, the healthier and alive you are. And so don't eat foods that aren't healthy and alive because it suppresses life. And then, again, I think some of the therapeutics available that aren't being discussed of things that help your immune system, protect your mucous membranes. I mean, a perfect example of this is we know that people that don't get enough water can't lubricate their mucous membranes, which is a barrier of protection against the virus. And so as simple as it is, man, if you're dehydrated, that's a risk factor.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'll leave with this here. When you said the FDA has said it may, words like may, it may protect.
Beep, beep.
That's pretty, that's not conclusive. It may help you. It may prevent the virus.
Well, you wish it was, everything in the life was an absolute.
Yeah.
With your kid, I have 5 kids. If I tell them, like, if you get your college degree, you absolutely will be successful.
Yeah.
Like, I wish there were rules like that.
Yeah.
Right? I wish that the FDA would come out and say, if you do this, absolutely, this is the outcome.
That is the part of this whole equation that's missing.
Unfortunately, it's not that way.
Yeah.
Mega Millions added a Monday game. I may hit it.
No, that's an absolute. You will lose. I kind of feel that way. Doc, thank you. Very informative. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
You're welcome. And have me again.
Thank you. We will definitely do that. Dr. Jason West. Very similar to what Dr. Monaski was saying the other day. That, I'm not, and he's pro-vaccine, but he was reminding us that the data are inconclusive.
Right.
There is no absolute right now. They're not saying this will. They're saying this might, this should. We hope it does.
Yes.
There's no absolute in anything in life.
Yeah.
So
well,
why
really,
we expect
I
so much?
Hate to disagree with you, but
go ahead.
I feel like when my wife says something is supposed to be a certain way,
that's absolute.
It's absolute.
Yes.
Yeah.